Good evening. I'm Renee Powell with Oklahoma Family Network, and welcome to Toolbox Tuesday. Tonight, we are very fortunate to have Kim Duncan, Engagement Manager with Circle of Care. Kim serves as the Engagement Manager in Tulsa for Circle of Care, a faith-based nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting children, youth, and families in crisis across Oklahoma. In her role, she is part of the organization's community engagement team, helping connect churches, community partners, donors, and local supporters with Circle of Care's programs and mission. These programs include foster care, family support, counseling, transitional living services, and prevention initiatives designed to strengthen families and create stable futures for children. Circle of Care, founded in 1917, is one of Oklahoma's longstanding child and family service organization and works statewide to help healing and hope to provide help, healing, and hope through intervention, prevention, and restoration efforts. As engagement manager for the Tulsa and Eastern Oklahoma region, Duncan helps build community relationships, increase awareness of services, and encourage partnerships that help support foster families and vulnerable youth. So thank you so much, Kim, for being here, and I'm going to hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you all for having me tonight and giving me the opportunity to talk about Circle of Care and the work that we do. Just welcome and thank you for joining us tonight. With it being virtual, you know, if you have questions to put in the chat, I'm going to try and be available for that, but also I'll have a time for questions at the end if I happen to miss you. And so I just like to open us up with just give me a second. Here we go. My button stopped working there we go. Welcome and thanks for joining. Feel free to unmute on this part. I would just love to know if has anybody heard of Circle of Care before? And if you have, feel free to unmute and just say if you've heard of Circle of Care or at what capacity. I'll give it a second. All right. It sounds like no one so far has heard about Circle of Care. What do you think Circle of Care does? I know that Renee gave us a little bit of an overview, but would love to know just thoughts on what you guys think are some of the things that Circle of Care does in the state of Oklahoma. Anybody?
Well, I use that same terminology when I talk to families about anyone in your village, if you will, that provides any sort of support to a loved one who has special needs, mental health challenges, anything of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I think I saw someone raising their hand. Was it Jill?
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. We just got done with parent teacher conference, so I was heading out to my car. I've actually heard of Circle of Care. I used to work for OKDHS in CPS, and so I had Circle of Care foster homes.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. I always just love to check and see. Sometimes we have people who have known about us for a long time, but they maybe remember what we did 20 years ago. And so I always love to gauge just kind of who I'm talking to and what information we have. So that's awesome. Thank you guys both for sharing. But really, we don't want to be the best kept secret in Oklahoma. We want people to know about our programs, our resources, and the ways that we support children and families in need. So I'm going to start just kind of with my journey with Circle of Care. Jill, as you mentioned, you knew some Circle of Care foster families. When I actually joined our staff with Circle of Care, I started on our Tulsa foster care team. And so my journey as becoming a family specialist, which is kind of a caseworker for our foster families, it was just a really fast and wild season of, learning all things foster care. I was learning my foster families, my foster kiddos, and really everything that goes on within the child welfare system. It just felt like I was trying to take a sip of water from a fire hydrant that was just blasting full blast, and the water supply just like never ends. About 2 weeks into me being in this new role, I went on my first placement. And so I remember waking up on a Saturday morning and driving across town, Tulsa, about a 30-minute drive. And I show up to the foster home first thing on a Saturday morning. And honestly, it's pretty chaotic in that home, just like placements and a lot of the transition. There was a lot going on in the house. However, the foster mom in that home, she had had a few placements. And so even in the midst of the chaos, she was always 2 to 3 steps ahead of really everything. Like it was clear that I was the newbie, and this foster mom was almost like teaching me how to do placement, right? She knew exactly what to do and was doing that. However, the little girl in her home, it was the exact opposite. You see, this was the first time that this little girl had ever been taken out of her home. And she had lots of emotions, and she was really, really confused and trying to figure out what was going on. Usually around age 4, you kind of have some language skills to communicate your needs. But this little girl had a really, really severe speech delay. It was most likely a lot to do with the neglect in her home. And so she really didn't have a way to articulate well and ask questions. And so she was really, really difficult to understand. But what wasn't difficult to understand was her confusion and her sadness. And so I tried as hard as possible to understand her as she asked questions. I remember her asking, about being in the home or asking about her mom. But really, I didn't understand much. And so I felt pretty helpless and just remember just kind of mustering up something like, your foster mom's going to take great care of you. And it was at that point that the foster mom kind of interjected and talked about how difficult the night before had been, getting her to calm down, getting her to stop crying and hopefully get some amount of sleep. She had been dropped off the night before on a Friday night around 10 or 10:30 p.m. by a DHS worker, which is a pretty late bedtime for a 4-year-old, and also after hours of just the events of being taken out of her home. So her foster mom had shared with me just how difficult the night before had been, but how eventually they did reach some sort of calm and some kind of sleep. I remember having a notebook, and as she would try to ask questions that I had difficulty understanding, I had a pen and a notebook. And so I remember just letting her draw and scribble on it. There weren't any letters, there weren't any words, or there were not drawings that I could decipher what they were. But it was just a small moment where she could just take a little bit of a break from the unknown. And it was a space where she could just be a kid. And I remember leaving that home and getting in my car and driving 30 minutes across Tulsa again. And I just sobbed in my car. I just cried the whole drive home because I couldn't unsee her face. What I saw in that brief window it broke my heart. And what I saw in that brief window was a little girl in some unclean clothes that didn't fit her. It included watching the foster mom look through a trash bag of belongings that she was dropped off with. And a lot of the clothes were sized 18 to 24 months. And she was 4.5. It included, a little girl who was just a year younger than my youngest at that time, but just years different developmentally, without adequate skills to really talk and communicate and advocate for herself. It also included a foster mom that was already tired from really trying her hardest to provide a safe and calm home for this little girl who just had a lot of emotions and feelings about being taken out of her home. And so I remember finally when the tears stopped, I just prayed for that little girl. And for the next 8 months, I got to be a part of the team that really looked out for her best interests, whether it was physical, mental, or emotional. And I've got to tell you that as the case continued, it didn't get better. It actually, the case got a lot more worse, and it was a very messy, hard case with a lot of trauma in it. And so my monthly visits in the foster home a lot of times included the foster mom kind of just laying out all of the heavy from the past month and just sitting with her in the heavy so that she didn't have to hold the heavy alone. It included really watching my face and not being shocked as she retold some of the things that the foster kiddo with time disclosed to her as to what was normal in her home. Or sometimes I would read a book or play a small game with that foster kiddo after our child interview because I could see through the living room foster mom sitting in her recliner and still sometimes just holding the heavy. And I could tell that she needed just another second before she needed to be on for that little girl. And the journey was really hard and messy, but the foster mom did an incredible job making a safe, calm home for this foster kiddo. And it was really an honor to get them to see them do this messy life together. They didn't do it perfectly, but they did it with a lot of grace, love, and understanding along the way. And that little girl's story still continues with our Circle of Care staff today. That little girl's story still continues to be shaped by the work of that Circle of Care does. And I hope you can tell that I'm really incredibly passionate about the work that we do at Circle of Care. I had the honor of being one of our program staff that really showed up on a daily basis to do some really hard and meaningful work. But what I'm excited to tell you about tonight is that that's just one snapshot. It's just really one day, 1 hour in the life of one worker in one of our foster families with one of our foster kiddos in just one of our programs. We have 7 programs. And so I love to sometimes just sit back and think about the story that happened last week that we don't get to talk about today, or the story that's going to happen in 2 weeks, or all of the stories that are being shaped by our incredible program staff daily and the life change that's coming from that. So our mission at Circle of Care is to provide Christian help, healing, and hope to children and families and ensure a safe, healthy, and spiritual future. And how we do that, I mentioned earlier, we have 7 programs. And so our 7 programs are right here on the screen for you. We have foster care, as I just talked about. We have a program called Parent to Parent, Pearl's Hope, Preparation for Adult Living, which we call PAL a lot of times, counseling, Fathers Empowered, and beyond. So I'm going to take you through some of these programs. I know we talked about foster care. A Circle of Care is a faith-based agency that partners with the state to educate, recruit, and empower families to open their hearts and their homes to children in need. We will assist them with paperwork, with the home study, and training, all at no cost to the foster families. And we provide continuous support such as respite care, clothing allotment, support groups, and just much more. There's just a few foster care stats I'd love to go over with you. Circle of Care is the largest private agency provider for foster care in the state of Oklahoma. And there are about 5,900 children in foster care in the state of Oklahoma and just under about 1,500 traditional foster care homes. So definitely there is need for more. And part of what I get to do is try and recruit and talk to people about fostering. Yeah, Renee.
Um, what is, so you say there are just over 5,900 children in foster care and
Mhm.
just under, what's the difference between foster care and then traditional foster care homes on the
Yeah.
other side?
So on the screen there, I put that this stat comes from 111project.org. They actually have a website where you can, every single month, they update the stats and they do it by county. And so if you want to go down a really deep rabbit hole, like go check out that website and their stats. But what is not included in that number is therapeutic foster care homes, kinship homes, and then sometimes kids who are in our foster care system, but they are in shelters. And so those stats really kind of provide a little breakdown of all of those things by county and by state as a whole. And so um, that's how some of the numbers end up making a little bit more sense, although there's still a greater need than what we have homes. But where the other children in care usually are falling in outside of traditional foster care homes are in therapeutic homes, shelters, or sometimes kinship homes. So, yeah, the first time I remember I looked at it, I was like, this math doesn't math. But you can take a deeper dive into those statistics at 111project.org. So, great question. Um, just some continued stats. About 20 years ago, there was a study done by the Harvard Medical School, and they reported that former foster children are almost twice as likely to suffer from post traumatic stress disorder than a U.S. war veteran. And so the interesting thing to me is that this study was done 20 years ago. I would love for this study to happen a little bit closer to where we are now, because I wonder if that number actually would be higher than what it was when this study was done. But I want you to picture what comes to mind when you think of someone with PTSD. A lot of us do kind of think it's going to be a war veteran. But now I want you to replace that thought in your mind with a 14-year-old girl who's already been in 2 different placements this year and is currently sleeping in the DHS office while they're waiting to secure the next placement. And so this same study also talks about how 65% of those children in foster care sometimes experience 7 to more school changes from elementary to high school. Also, that after the age of 18, the foster care system no longer has an obligation to provide a foster home. And so sometimes that is often leaving kids who have been in foster care without the adult life skills or a community to help figure out what's next, or where they will live, or just kind of jumpstart those years into independent living. We talk about this quote by Desmond Tutu pretty often. And really for Circle of Care, once our foster care program got really, really big, this is something that shaped some of the programs that came after that. There comes a point when we need to stop pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in. And so that is where we love providing safe homes. We love supporting foster care families, but we also want to essentially work ourselves out of a job for foster care if we could have some preventative services to help families before they reach that point. And so one of those programs is Parent to Parent. And so Parent to Parent seeks to restore families by connecting parents who have had their children removed from their care by a DHS to parent mentors. These parent mentors are individuals with lived experience who have previously experienced the removal of their own children. And these mentors provide support to parents through their case and reunification process. So those parents really pour into their mentees in several different ways, but one of them might be showing up to court days with them, or encouraging them what they should wear to court, or really just standing by them and saying, I've been where you are, and this seems like a very big hill to climb, but you can do it, and I'm there with you. And so we actually just had all our Circle of Care staff together today. We do it once a year. And so one of the stats that I heard specifically from parent to parent is I think that program helped a total of 30 parents reunify with their kids, and a total of 7 children were able to go back home. And so Parent to Parent is a super special program that really helps those mentees take steps to do the work that is required to be safe and often given a second chance. Pearl's Hope, that is right here in the Tulsa area. It is a transitional living program that provides safe housing so women can care for their children in their own homes. Pearl's Hope aims to build relationships and inspire women to make changes to improve life outcomes, guiding them to move from crisis points towards a bright future. Pearl's Hope walks alongside mothers who have lost custody of their children or are at risk of DHS intervention. This program provides a helping hand while mothers obtain stable income, housing, and transportation. And so one of my favorite quotes from a past Pearl's Hope client, she has now graduated from the program, but she actually shared with our staff last year when we were all together. And she shared that, she had been in many programs where she learned sobriety, but Pearl's Hope was the first program where she learned healing. And I'd love to tell you about another one of our Pearl's Hope clients. I'd love for you to meet Stephanie. Stephanie is a mother of 8. Her first 5 children, she relinquished her rights. And then the next 2 she left behind with their biological father during a really dark time in her addiction because she believed she would never get clean. Then she found out that she was pregnant again with her 8th child. And at that point, something inside of her changed. And she told God, I know I deserve to die, but please help me get clean for this baby. And that was over 2 years ago. Today, Stephanie is still sober. She's 1 test away from getting her GED because she dropped out of school in 7th grade when she first became pregnant. And so she now works full time, and she's restoring some of the relationships that with the children that she lost. But in a birthday card to one of her daughters, she wrote, "The greatest gift a mother can give her child is the healing version of herself." Preparation for adult living. It is our program that helps bridge the gap to adulthood by providing resources and mentoring to clients to cultivate independent living and life skills. We offer housing and support to youth ages 18 to 24 who are actively seeking to complete their education and employment goals. This program is for any individual facing homelessness. Often, a lot of our clients are people who have aged out of the foster care system. And this program takes place in residential living at our Tahlequah campus. And so I heard an illustration literally today from our PAL director. And he told a story of how he wasn't a great swimmer when he was younger. And he went to this birthday party, and he was the kind of swimmer who needed the floaties, right? But before really learning to swim, he's at this birthday party, and he jumps into the pool, not realizing he doesn't have his floaties. And it's at that realization that he realizes he's sinking in the water. But all of a sudden, his friend's dad just reaches in and pulls him out. And what he shared was, after the shock of that event, his friend's dad didn't just spend time talking to him about safety, about floaties. He spent the rest of the pool party teaching him how to swim. And he left that pool party I'm not the strongest swimmer in the world, but better equipped with skills so that that same thing wouldn't happen again. And he equated that to our PAL program, um, teaching life skills, coming alongside them, giving them community. They have a caseworker who checks in with them on a weekly basis and really teaching those life skills to be able to live independently. And so some of those things include classes, just helping with education goals, employment. They do a class where they teach cooking and they all get together to cook meals and to learn those skills. And so that is our preparation for adult living. Counseling. Our counseling services are focused on the whole person and designed to help families and individuals in their journey towards mental wellness. We are happy to serve both Circle of Care clients and members of the community in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Woodward, and Tahlequah. Therapists provide home-based, school-based telehealth services to serve all clients regardless of the ability to pay. They are trauma-informed therapists. We have infant mental health services available in Tulsa, and we currently accept Sooner Care and Better Medicare and private pay, which is including a sliding scale. And they take in, there are discounts and stuff available for size of family and some of those things. So sometimes the sliding scale, I haven't been able to see a sliding scale on that part after some discounts. It's they try to really make it available for anyone. And when we started our counseling, it was primarily a little bit for our clients, but what we've seen over time is about 30% of the people we see are our clients in different programs like Pearls Hope, PAL, foster care. And about 70% do come from the community. And so I'd love to introduce you to Maria. Yeah, it's not actually Maria. That's definitely an AI picture because confidentiality wise, I can't share those things. But Maria is one of our clients in with our counseling team. And Maria entered foster care as a toddler, but she was then later adopted by a single foster mom. Tragically, about a year ago, her adoptive mom died, and Maria was placed once again in foster care. In addition to some profound trauma and just overwhelming grief of losing one of the permanent parents in her life, Maria was also recently diagnosed with autism. So when counseling began, she really struggled to communicate at all, but especially about her emotions. And so the therapist working with her really quickly realized traditional therapy is not going to be super effective and began searching for ways to meet Maria where she was. And through patience, trial, and error, he discovered she loved coloring. She also loved cats. And so he began bringing crayons, markers, colored pencils, and all the cat themed colored pages to their sessions. And so, with her hands busy and her eyes focused on the page rather than on the therapist, Maria began to open up a little bit. Coloring gave her a sense of safety and control and just allowing her to express some thoughts and feelings that she couldn't always put into words. But during one session, something was different. Usually when Maria colored, she was very, very careful. She colored inside the lines. She was really precise. She took time. However, during this session, while they were talking about some stuff, she started coloring a little bit harder and a little bit more intensely. And all of a sudden, she wasn't in the lines at all. Eventually, to the point where she is scribbling all over the page. And then she finally crumbled up the paper. And she said, that didn't turn out how I thought it would. And it was in that moment that the therapist knew she wasn't talking about the picture. She was talking about her life. And this breakthrough could have possibly not happened without trauma-informed developmentally appropriate therapy that adapts to the unique needs for children like Maria. Our Beyond program is our post-adoption program. Adoption is not the end of the journey, but beginning of a new chapter. Beyond is here to support families as they continue their journey after adoption by providing support groups, education, training, and access to mental health services. Serving families in the central Oklahoma area, Beyond will act as a steady hand and will ensure that adoptive families have the tools, connections they need to thrive. Beyond actually comes from the phrase of beyond the courtroom. If people adopt through the foster care system, while you're fostering, there's lots of people in your home. There's lots of supports and resources. And sometimes families have found after they sign the papers, you take the picture in the courtroom, a lot of that goes away. And that's a relief for a season until we see some of our trauma behaviors come up at different milestones and different ages. And so our Beyond program is to continue to help support families. And it is primarily in central Oklahoma area. But if you go on our website, you can actually schedule a parenting coaching session with our director of Beyond, who is, she's TBRI certified, trust-based relational interventions. And she is an adoptive mom herself. And just if you ever find someone who needs those supports, but they're not in central Oklahoma, they're available through our website. And I can't tell you how many times I've met with an adoptive parent and I'm just pulling out my phone and I'm like, self-care, would you like to book a session? Because they are completely free parent coaching sessions. But one of my favorite stories through our Beyond program is about our TAG group. It's our teen adoptee group. And these boys met together for quite a season. They ate way more chicken strips from Raising Cane's than anybody thought was humanly possible. But towards the end of their time, they had the opportunity to hear from some guest speakers. And these boys really sat silently for just about an hour, listening to these two men describe how adoption had not held them back, but propelled them forward. They described how being different used to bother them, but now they realize how it made their story special. And these brothers were the Sheltron brothers, transracial adoptees and football players at Oklahoma State University. And they were guest speakers for this tag group. And this tag group included boys ages 13 to 17, and they gathered weekly for, like I said, the chicken strips, food, fun, and conversations. But also a lot of the kids in these groups were high-level young athletes themselves. And so our director shared how it was really powerful that the boys got to see their dreams reflected in two men who looked like them and had lived some very similar stories. And so I know that they're looking to do a teen adoptee group for girls this year, as they did this one last year, but really for those kiddos who are going through those years where they're asking, they're forming their identity. They're asking, who am I? And for adopted youth, that can be a really complex answer. And so for them to have a safe space to show up and to have those conversations and to not feel alone is really, really powerful. Our last program is one that we added just last year, and it's called Fathers Empowered. Every father needs the tools necessary to parent effectively and create a stable environment for their family. Our team of fatherhood specialists help dads expand their access to resources, create meaningful support networks for fathers and their families. This program helps fathers build resilience in supportive environments through workshops, training, and support groups. They go through a curriculum called 24/7 Dad. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's what the curriculum is called. And it's about a 12-week program. Fathers Empowered is available in Cherokee, McIntosh, Pittsburgh counties, and they also do virtual options in other counties as well. And so, Circle of Care has been showing up for children, families, and moms for a really, really long time. But this was just one of the next uh, preventative steps to, if we can build stronger fathers, we can build stronger families. Um, so yeah, it's a lot to talk about 7 programs. I'm sorry if you feel like I am like pushing through, but it's a hard thing to do, to talk about an overview of our programs when we have 7 programs and I could spend 45 minutes on each program. So sorry if that felt like a lot, but really the reason I go through it is, what does all of this need? And really for who we have tonight, you may know someone who needs one of our resources. Like, send them our way. Yeah, my contact info will be here. I can get them connected with whatever resources needed. A lot of our information is online, but you may know someone who could really benefit from one of our resources. And we know that there are lots of needs in the state of Oklahoma. There's lots of ways that we can support children, families, and help build stronger families. And so if you know of someone who needs our resources, we would love for you to share our resources with them. If you are a part of groups or some places where you would love them to hear this Circle of Care story, just please share my info with them. I kind of go around. Our team is split up over Oklahoma, but one of our team really will travel anywhere in the state of Oklahoma just to talk about the work that we're doing and help to get our resources out there, and also just tell our story and invite others to be a part of it. You can check out our website for more information. Our website is www.circleofcare.org. We do monthly lunch and learns in Oklahoma City and Tulsa area. So if any of you are based in that and you're like, hey, I loved what I heard, I'd love to hear some more, or I'd love to bring someone with me, that's available on our website as well. Underneath our state shows up, which is what our lunch and learns are underneath. Like, there's lots of needs in our state. Here's the way that we are showing up for those needs. So I know I gave you a lot of information. Please feel free to now unmute, and I'd love to answer any questions you guys may have, or yeah, just be available for that.
Nancy in the chat posted, are the groups available in Spanish?
At this time, only some of them. We have a Fathers Empowered specialist who is able to offer in Spanish, but that is really right now one of the main places where we have that, just due to the availability of a Spanish speaker. I'm trying to think. Yeah, within our foster family, we probably have some Spanish speakers as well, but we haven't needed to use interpreters in that situation yet.
But if a family came looking for services and they were Spanish speakers, would they just request it? What would the process be to get an interpreter if needed?
Yeah, that is a really great question that I would say we would love to find those services to help that family. But I don't know what the process is right now, because so far we haven't encountered that need just yet. But sounds like just a way for us to innovate to continue to help families. Beth, I see your hand there.
How is Circle of Care funded, given that it's been around since the early 1900s? That's really a long time for a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have a really, really long history from 1917. We used to be United Methodist Circle of Care, and really a long history comes from that background. And then we became our own nonprofit. I want to say in 2022. And so, really, the history of where we come from is a group of people who saw a need and said, we're gonna show up and we're gonna do something about it. And so, I could do another 45 minutes on the history of Circle of Care, because through different seasons, there have been different programs and different things. Like we had a boys ranch in Gore, Oklahoma, during that season, which now is no longer a boys' ranch. But we actually have 4 sibling homes on that campus, so that larger sibling sets could be kept together instead of spread out in different foster homes. We actually have 12 sibling homes around the state. And so, yeah, the uniqueness of our history is there's been a lot of things that we've done. We had a children's home in Tahlequah as well, and so where preparation for adult living is on the campus that the children's home used to be at, and utilizing PAL is on campus there in one of the homes there that have some independent spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And today it's just diverse funding. So private donors, we have church partners. Some of our programs have grants. It depends on the program, on where the funding comes from exactly. So it's very diverse. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question from the chat. Nancy asked, do you require any type of documentation to provide services?
Yes. Yeah. Most of our programs, there's going to be documentation, just for our accreditation. And so, for example, in foster care, our documentation is both what DHS would require, of a private agency, and then also what our accreditation would require. And so, yep, we have quite a few policies and documentations for all of our programs.
I guess, is the program available to folks that might be undocumented immigrants to the
Okay.
United States?
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I don't entirely know the answer to that. I do believe that we've possibly had some former foster clients that would fall within that, but I'm not certain on how it falls into every program. But I can also check on that information and get back to Nancy if that's something that would be helpful.
Do you have a like a breakdown or a place where we could see like the services by county or programs that are available by county, or do you just have to look at the website and just look?
Yeah, we don't have it by county.
Okay.
It's a little, if you go to our website, you'll see
Okay.
where different offices are. I can kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown. We have in Woodward, we have foster care and we have counseling. In Tulsa, we have foster care. We have parent to parent. We have Pearl's Hope. We have counseling. And yes. And then in our Tahlequah area, we have preparation for adult living. We have parent to parent in that area as well, counseling, and Fathers Empowered. McAllister, we have foster care and Fathers Empowered. And then in our Oklahoma City area, we have foster care, counseling, and beyond. So I know that's not by county, and the sibling homes are, in different spaces in Gore. We have some sibling homes in Shawnee, and so, and I believe Enid.
I did have a question. Hello
Yeah.
there.
Hi.
Hi, Kim. My name is Teresa, and I am the founder of Bridge Resource Center here in Tulsa. And so we are a family empowering nonprofit, and we have an open house coming up. And I would love to, we have several partners that will be on site to offer different resources to the
Yeah.
community. And I would love to see if maybe you or one of or two of your representatives would come. We have tables and chairs and things
Yeah.
provided, but I think that this would be great because just here recently I was speaking with a school, and they've had like the highest like evictions for
Mhm.
here recently. And so I would have loved to have known what you all have in place,
Yeah.
and I would think just being able to give out some of your what you all do, and letting the community that does come through know that you're there would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to be able to do that. And I always love including some of our local program staff because they're going to talk about their programs really in the best way
Yes,
possible. So my email is there. If you want to email me, I'd love to get that on the calendar.
I sure
Thanks
will. I
for what
will.
you're,
I'll take that down.
yeah, thanks for what you're doing
And
in the
thanks for what
Tulsa
you're
area.
doing. This was awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Are the lunch and learns, what do you typically cover at the lunch and learns?
Yeah, so we did them all last year, and it maybe looked a little bit like today would have, except for we had a story from every program. And so we asked for lots of feedback, and everybody was like, everything you say is great, but you're talking for too long, a little bit like today. And so what it will be a little bit more is a little bit more interactive to help you thinking about the different needs, and then just kind of some shorter stories from each program, and really then just the opportunity to tour our campus in the Tulsa area where Pearl's Hope is. Our Tulsa campus also shares some space with some other nonprofits, like Flourish Homes and Family Promise is on our campus up there. And so it really is just a face-to-face opportunity. You would hear something similar to the overview of our programs, but it's also an opportunity for us to meet and connect with people who maybe want to be involved with us in some capacity or just really want to come and ask questions. And those are available on our website as well. There's a calendar for every month, and you can just sign up
Hmm.
through there so that we know you're coming and we can have food for you.
Is there any cost associated with it for attendees?
Nope,
Cool.
nope, just sign up on the link.
And is the only thing that what I could really just from listening, the only thing associated with cost might be the counseling. Am I getting that right? I might I'm just trying to get an idea if when
Yeah.
someone might have to pay versus not have to pay.
Yeah, so our counseling, we're the insurance that we work with, a lot of foster kiddos have sooner care, and so it works really easily for some of those people who have those insurances, and they're looking at opening up other insurance possibilities. That's just kind of a slow process, but no, there's no cost to our Fathers Empowered. There's actually a small financial incentive. For completing the 12 weeks for some of our dads. And then some of the other programs, like Pearl's Hope and PAL, that are residential, they even encourage just like budgeting, and they get to stay residentially and be a part of that program, and learn how to budget those things. And so they're not paying for rent while they're in the program. And then our foster care, at no cost to the family certification process. And then once they have a placement, we have different like clothing allotments or a yearly activity fund, just some reimbursements to help foster families, and just support them a little bit further in what they're doing.
Thank you. I have another question actually.
Yeah.
What proportion of the families that Circle of Care serves might include children with different needs or abilities?
Yeah. I think it goes case by case,
Okay.
and specifically in foster care. Um, we are traditional foster care homes. So if you have a kiddo who's in a therapeutic home, sometimes with higher needs, um, at this time we don't have that accreditation to do therapeutic foster homes. The state does do something called enhanced foster care, which might be someone who has some higher needs or bigger behaviors. And we do have families who do enhanced foster care. And they have to go through extra training through the state to be able to be an enhanced foster care home. So it goes case by case. Like even in
Okay.
PAL, we might have a client that has a lot of mental health diagnoses, and it's really that's part of the caseworker understanding those things. And the programs that are residential, they always want to make sure that a client's going to be a good fit for the program, because when you're doing some community style living, like our Pearls Hope moms, they have an individual living area for them and their kiddos, but the living room area and the kitchen's going to be shared space. And so it goes case by case. I don't have the exact breakdown of what it looks like right now.
Um, and this is just kind of what is the therapeutic home? Would you mind defining that?
Yeah. Someone who possibly works in DHS will be a better explanation of it.
Okay.
But a therapeutic home is going to be just a kind of different certification where they
Okay.
have, it could include someone with a lot of medical needs,
Okay.
someone with a lot of mental health needs, bigger behaviors. It's just going to, it's going to take a foster home that is prepared to give and invest more.
Um, Gosh, I had another question. It left me. Um, does anybody else have any questions? Um, oh, you know what? Here's one. Um, Approximately how many families does Circle of Care serve? Um, you know, a year roughly.
Mm-hmm. I don't have the total of families across all programs.
Okay.
I want to say last year, I think in foster care around the entire state, I think again, my stat may not be
No,
getting
just
ready to do
a
yeah,
rough.
we're getting ready to do our annual reporting. And so those numbers are just not fresh. I want to say that I had heard someone in foster care say somewhere close to 500 families,
Wow.
but don't quote me on that quote.
Okay. Well, but I mean, just a rough estimate because you have so many wonderful programs.
Mhm.
Um, that's really helpful. Oh, my question came back. Do you require that uh, parents be sober to participate or clean, however you say it, to
So,
participate in any of your programs?
so the one that we where that's going to be something as our Pearls Hope program, and that is a requirement of the program. Just a lot of our moms have addiction in their background, and so again, with the community living and that situation, that's an important part. And I think when they're looking for, if a client's going to be a good fit for the program, I do think there's a certain amount of time where they will have needed to be sober to enter the program. And then I just lost what I was thinking in another program. Um, but yeah, so that is a big part of Pearl's Hope. Outside of that, I don't know how it shakes down to some of the non-residential programs. Like I would imagine that a Fathers Empowered group, um, while it's going to be encouraged, it's probably not going to be a required part of the program as they're meeting in groups and not residential.
Gosh, does anybody have any other questions? I feel like I've learned a lot tonight. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your um, nights, and especially Kim, you've had a long day.